I just recorded the video about the song After the Rain in my native language first. Uh, I love English and I speak English really well. But it's so different when you communicate in your native language than it is when you communicate in a language that is your third or fourth or fifth or sixth language. I've learned so many languages along the way that I've learned to kind of differentiate, you know, not just through the way I'm speaking it, but it's also through the way I'm using it to portray myself. I think that my personality switches from, using one language to using another language. I'm a completely different person in Bosnian language than I am in English. Um, I think I'm funnier, I'm more intelligent for sure. I can be serious. I don't think I can be serious in English language, because I just sound the way I do. Um, Maybe it has to do something with the looks too. It doesn't matter. I've seen a couple of studies about the English language and how some people claim that it is like a language that is full of witchcraft theory or whatever that is because of all the spells and spellings we do with the language, with the way we pronounce word, we express our ideas, even the grammar itself, Noam Chomsky wrote and spoke a lot about it, definitely a language, just like the culture, influences the person so much. So we definitely get so much of our understanding of the word, of the world, through our words, through the way we express ourselves. And it sometimes takes a person who is not a native speaker to point out these things to you. Just like when people move to Bosnia and they start learning Bosnian language, they tell us about these idiosyncronicities that are just not making sense to anyone but us. Nevertheless, this video is about the song called After the Rain. After the Rain was written 20 years ago while living in South Korea. Again, uh, I think I was very creative while I was there because I was able to finally be myself. You know, I left Bosnia and Herzegovina, or former Yugoslavia, when I was 15. I lived in North America two times, 6 years, so about 12 years altogether. But I was in Asia, in South Korea, almost 20 years. Uh, and it has definitely made an impact on me in many ways. Even though I don't look like it, I am Korean. I love the culture. I love the Buddhism. I love food. I love a lot of different aspects of it. How everything is organized, how people work hard, and how they are professional. um, I didn't expect every element of that society, and I definitely always behaved the way I wanted to behave. But I love the fact that it was organized in such a way. I honestly believe that the truth and the way we should be is somewhere in between the West and the East. Because in the East, you have everyone working together, everyone being a part of your experience, family is very important versus in the West everyone works for themselves, they are very individualistic. And again, this is not just as black as white as that, of course, but I think that somewhere in between, these two different ways of doing things would be the best way to live. I was lucky enough to have been exposed, through the through many different encounters to, Asian way of thinking or the Korean culture. So much so that I almost became Korean myself. Uh, this song, After the Rain, is sort of dedicated to that particular experience. So when I first moved to South Korea, I was a young man, maybe I was 27 or something like that. And I met a lovely Korean girl, and we fell in love and we dated. We stayed together for a year. She told me once, Eline, our love can only end with a marriage or with a breakup. And I was like, yeah, of course. But the thing is, like, even the marriage, once you marry, that's it. That's the end of love. Then you just chug along. You have family. It's different. I never understood that really, but she was so right about it in so many ways. And why we actually broke up was the fact that Korea at that time when we were dating, and this is 2002, 2003, was not ready for international couples. You had one part of Korea that was modern, that was developing, but you also had another part of Korea that was still very traditional. It was looking down upon people mixing and everything. But in my opinion, I think this is why we're here. We're here to mix. Seriously, I think that one perfect human in the future will be like 1/5 Bosnian, 1/5 German, 1/5 Newfoundlander, 1/5 African, 1/5 German. I already said German, I'm sorry. Maybe British. Like get a little bit of everyone in order to get that perfect human. And that happens, through evolution, through whatnot, and our economies, our global trend is moving towards that. People are definitely moving all over the place. They're mixing up. Look, I can't even imagine, let's say, the future of Canada, where you have so many different people living together, and what an average Canadian will look like in the future. Will they be black or white, or is that important? Not really. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. I think that as society, we are, as humankind, we are here to do that. To kind of mix in a way to make something amazing. Why not? Like this is what I have to give: a little bit of musical talent, amazing sense of humor, my good looks. I hope I, get a chance to send some of my DNA into the future. I am kidding, of course, but that's kind of what the reality is, and that's basically what the whole English teaching in South Korea was about. When I first moved to South Korea, I basically worked with kids because I did not speak English myself. Of course, I spoke it, but I wasn't ready to teach it at a level that I would be teaching it later on. Because later on, I became a professor of marketing. I became a cultural consultant with Hyundai and Samsung groups. I worked for the government. I worked for the judicial, for system. I worked for the police university. I done amazing work, for my 20 years there, and that's brilliant. All because I could actually teach survival English, and not just that, but a little bit more than that. Because language and culture go hand in hand. Learning the language without learning the culture, you will never be able to understand what is really going on. Just like Korea, even though I spoke Korean, I could not fit in there, because I would question, my future in-laws about a lot of their decisions. They would question me about my decisions. As I said earlier, that the difference between the East and the West is that in the East, the family plays a very important role in your own marriage, in the upbringing of your own children. You are kind of forced to, you know, deal with them, and they're forced to deal with you, and that's good and bad. Versus here in the East, you know, in the West, I'm sorry. Once you're 18, get out of here, you know, like go get a house, get an apartment, do whatever you want to do. Kids can't, you know, wait to leave homes, and vice versa. You know, parents can't wait to, you know, get their own freedom back, and it's almost as if, like, you know, like we don't want to do any part of it. It's difficult. It's a difficult situation because, and the song Choices speaks about that. You know, the things that we choose become the things that we hate. You know, because in the beginning, you ask the God. You know, you ask the universe, please, you know, provide me with a family. You know, and then you find somebody. You have children with this person. Next thing you know, you're like, oh my God. All I have to do is just work. Nobody respects me. Where am I in all this? I'm eating leftovers, pizza. You know, we have not organized ourselves well, and this is why this is an ongoing process. The whole evolution of DNA exchanges and cultural exchanges until we find out what everything is going to work for us rather than against us. In my humble opinion, by 2500 we will have a perfect society. We still have ways to go. But again, there is no beginning and there is no end. I see that through my children. You know, my son is me. I am my son and I am my father and my father is me. The things that my father wanted to do but couldn't, I'm doing, and the same things goes for my children. My son showed up with a saxophone. Just now he wants to learn to play the saxophone. This is something I've been wanting to learn my whole life. I couldn't. I was too busy working, you know, raising children, doing other things, writing songs, you know, traveling, because there's so many things that you want to do. You cannot do everything. So it's a slow process. It takes generations and generations for us to accomplish something, you know, so trivial. You know, how long did it take us, you know, to understand that we have been abusing our women in many ways, you know, culturally, politically, economically. What is it? We just celebrated like 50 years of, like, you know, a woman being able to get a credit card, you know, or like, what is it, 100 years since they could vote and things like that, stupidity. But let's not talk about, let's say, like sexuality issues and things that we have shunned upon, you know, that we could not even talk about before, or some other things that we're still to talk about. So it's gonna take a long time for all of it to kind of filter out, and this is, you know, all going step by step. The song After the Rain speaks about that. It speaks about love that conquers everything, and I think that basically that's the frequency that we all have to be in. You have to love your experience, and it's not always easy. So I'm going back to, you know, my first years in South Korea when I was just learning English myself, teaching children, and you know, I was lucky enough to share that experience with a lovely Korean girl who showed me what love is, who kind of provided me with that comfort, that knowing that somebody is waiting for me at home, that somebody is thinking of me. And I did not have that because, you know, I came from a war-torn country. I left my home when I was young. I lived on my own for so long that really, like, to have something like that was such an amazing experience, and it helped me, you know, it helped heal my heart in many ways, even though it finished the way it did because of all the cultural, economical, political differences. It helped me, you know, heal my heart. While teaching in these academies, you know, these small language schools in South Korea, we would usually work in the afternoons, with kids that would come, after school, to after school programs, and we would, you have a couple of classes and a break or something like that. I would take my break outside and go to a little like shop run by this old Korean lady that was very traditional. She would be selling fruits, vegetables, coffee cups, whatever, noodles, and some things like that. And the funny thing is that you have this beautiful, brand new, modern buildings right next to this old traditional shop, and you're sitting there in between these two worlds. I would usually go and buy this cheapest coffee that was served in like a blue tin, uh, blue can, and the name of the coffee was Let's Be, which was grammatically incorrect. In English you need to say let's be what. But I never understood that really that's kind of what Buddhism is all about. It's just let's be. Just be. You don't have to be anything or anybody, just be. And then things are going to happen. That's, I guess, the first step towards, experiencing the world. You just have to be present or something like that. I never, thought that like a 50-cent coffee could provide so much philosophy, but it did. So I would take these breaks in the afternoon and drink my coffee and just observe Korea for what it was, and that's exactly how it started. I just saw gray clouds in the distance and it smelled like the rain, but my baby is sleeping and she doesn't care. I immediately asked this old woman to give me a pen and a paper, and I wrote the song, and just that's it. It came out. The words came out. I went home. They put music to it immediately. I think I've had the music with and everything already given to me by the universe or the experience. It speaks about the futility to really do anything that is not meant to be done. In the second verse, I say that, words are on the radio. He speaks of his pain. I tried to explain to her where I came from, the war, the things that just she couldn't explain. She couldn't understand, and really, like, I also still can't understand. I spent my whole life thinking about it. But the fact that she would basically fall asleep in the middle of me, like, bearing my soul about the war and everything, and we just drift apart. I say, who will win, who will pay? I don't really care. My whole world is here in my bed. Just, to her, who Serbs, who Croats, who Bosnians did not really make any difference. She was just oblivious to everything, just like to this summer rain. The summer rain that comes, washes everything, and even in a few hours the earth soaks the water and it's like nothing ever happened. That's what the war was. It just boom happened, and I got stuck in that moment, and I'm still stuck in it. Most of us are stuck in certain moments, but when you stop and pause and look next to you, look, the flowers still bloom, the clouds still move, the rain comes and goes. Love is there, just waiting for you. I'm lucky enough to have known it, in different experiences with different people, and I am so grateful to it because it really shows me what the important thing is, and it's that moment. Just let's be. Let's be in that moment, because everything else that happened has to happen and will have to happen in order for us to evolve to a point where there will be no more pain, no more confusion, and everybody will be happy. And that's by 2500, but there is hope. There you go, a little bit about the song called After the Rain. We will be happy after the rain, love will find the Don't believe all the hype that is being sold to you as, real, because it's not. But we are. I hope we are, at least. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video after the rain.